Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we are going to be looking at the Explore Best of One ladder, the best decks that are currently being played up to Mythic rank as part of our weekly metagame breakdown series. So we usually cover each of the series. With Explore and Historic, I'm going to alternate, at least for the time being, one format per week, best of one, best of three. We'll be getting a bunch of new sets in the coming weeks, and then we'll kind of do deep dives into both. But as we're kind of in this limbo period, we'll give it a little bit and just kind of alternate. But we're going to be covering all the decks today. We're going to get the data from UntappedGG, what you see on the screen, companion tool that runs alongside Arena's client, aggregates your win rate with other users, gives a whole bunch of cool stats. I'll paste these deck lists and timestamp them so you can copy and paste to your heart's content. So let's dive into it. We're going to start with the popularity of decks, and then we'll look at the decks themselves. So we have Rakdos Aggro at about 10%. There's kind of two Rakdos versions that we're going to look at today. There's a Leyline version and a non-Leyline version. There's Selesnya Angels, which is making up about 10%. Seems to be well positioned against these aggressive red decks. Mono Red Wizards, 6.5%. Azorius Control, 5.5%. Is it Phoenix? About 5%. Honestly, the Phoenix list we're not even going to cover today. It's sub 55% in best of one, which is kind of interesting. Mono Black Control, which is what's being tagged to the slasher decks. So we'll take a look at those. And then we have three variants of Greasefang: an Abzan, a Mardu, and an Esper that we'll take a look at. And then finally, Enigmatic, kind of wrapping things up there. So just kind of looking at the distribution, ladder reset. So we're still beginning of the month. That's why we're looking at Platinum. So usually you see kind of a spike in the aggressive decks towards the beginning of the month. Selesnya also kind of tying to that. If we look at like the Angels deck, it was kind of hovering in the mid single digits, kind of peaking up. We see Wizards again just kind of peak up. Azorius Control was kind of low. It's coming up again. The Azorius Control deck as well, we're not going to cover today. It's sub 55% in terms of win rate. So we usually use that as kind of our cap. Otherwise, we're going to start including like 100 decks that are just aggressively mid for the week. So we are looking at 18,000 games of best of one that were played, Platinum to Mythic rank. And we're going to start off. So the highest win rate deck is Abzan Greasefang. I'm going to sequentially cover the other two Greasefangs right after. They aren't in terms of order the next highest win rate, but I think for comparison purposes, it's easier to see like Greasefang, see what the different decks are bringing. The core of the deck with this Abzan version and all of them is your self-milling, looting, putting cards into your graveyard. You have Sky Sovereign and Parhelion as your big hit with Greasefang as a way to reanimate, give it haste, and take advantage of that. Overlord of the Bailmark is another mill engine that allows you to kind of mill over your vehicles, get Greasefang back to hand. The Abzan version also gets access to Eska's Chariot. This version's on a split of Soul the Lost, as well as Rafine as large creatures. Can't Stay Awake can reanimate. A bunch of removal, Fatal Push, Bitter Triumph can discard your vehicles. Witherbloom commands a mill, could be removal, could be life gain, can blow up non-land permanents, so some utility there with the deck. Some Thoughtseizes. Now, notably with this deck, you can Thoughtseize yourself. There is a line you could Thoughtseize yourself and then get rid of a vehicle and then Greasefang away. The other version, so we have a Mardu variant. This one's at 57%. So still same elements of Overlord, Parhelion, Sky Sovereign, Greasefang. With access to the Mardu colors, you get access to Fable the Mirror Breaker. Very strong card to draw discard. You have the Fable Blood Tithe package. You also have Fear of Missing Out, which will allow you to draw discard. Very easy to turn on Delirium in this deck, just given you have incidental artifacts, the vehicles, creatures, enchantments, whatever it may be. You can get 2 combat stages with your Parhelion, who would just kill them that way there. Kroxa to come back from the graveyard, and here is another draw discard style effect. And then lastly, we have the Esper version. So this one's at 56.9, so just a shade under. This one's probably a little bit more mid-rangey. We have both Greasefang and Oculus as something to take advantage of the graveyard. You can reanimate stuff with Can't Stay Awake, as well as Recommission here, getting back your creatures. You can even use something like Helping Hand if you'd like, as another way to kind of play around that. The plus of Recommission is it puts a counter on the creature, so Greasefang would dodge like Lightning Strike style effects. Otherworldly Gaze, I always say glaze, like a donut. Stitcher Supplier, Self Mill, Faithful Mending, Draw Discard, Picklock Prankster mills you, and then Stubborn Denial as a cheap counter spell. So we have a few different variants of the powerful graveyard strategy. Oh, I was there. So the traditional blue-white control, not doing so hot. The Meme to Dream 9 lives combo version is doing well, 72%. So for those unfamiliar, normally you'd see 9 lives with Solemnity. It creates a lock where your opponent cannot deal damage to you. You can still lose life, but they can't deal damage. What this version of the deck is doing, though, is you have the ability with Coveted Falcon to flip it and donate 9 lives to your opponent. So you can either do it in full control mode if your opponent's about to deal you the 9th 9 life counter. With that on the stack, you can donate it. Alternatively, you have ways to blow it up in Cleansing Nova and Farewell. So you can donate it, blow it up, and then beat them that way there. Otherwise, it's just a strict control deck. Temporary lockdown, bunch of counters, cheap removal, stuff like that to take advantage of it. You have things like Omen of the Sea because you can also donate those with Coveted Falcon to get some value in terms of card advantage. Then go to Selesnya Auras, 69%. Nice. So this deck here got a boost with 2 enchantments from Duskmourn, Sheltered by Ghost. All can be tutored with the Light Paws. This is removal, ward, lifelink. You have Shard Mage's Rescue as protection effect. This version is also playing Illuminator Virtuoso as a double striker. Connive when it becomes a target, so if you target with an aura, draw discard as well. Audacity for trample, Ethereal Armor for a bunch of damage. Same with all that glitters. Glaring Aegis as a way to kind of get rid of blockers from your opponent's side. Flying, Optimistic Scavenger can put counters on things. Sprell for protection, Sentinel's Eyes for vigilance. Gigant the Companion. So first, Rakdos Aggro deck, we have Rakdos Leyline. So this one here is kind of more like your fling deck that we saw in Standard, 66%. So if you have your Leylines and they're banned, this deck's pretty much a standard deck with addition of Titan Strength as well as some additional lands. Rakdos mana base, very safe to have. It gets played in a lot of different decks between the Eternal formats. But same kind of idea, your Scamps, Heartfire Heroes, Swift Spears, you have Kumano in here, Rage, Titan Strength, +3 powers, double them up, fling them at your opponent kind of deal that we saw get banned in Standard Best of One. Something gets banned in Standard and you could play it in another format, might be worth looking at. The other version of Rakdos, this is more traditional to the Best of 3 variant. This one's at 64%, so a little less explosive, a little bit more resilient. You have Ancestral Anger for card advantage, a Thoughtseize main, Reckless Rage as a way to target your creature and be removal against your opponents. This incidentally could kill like the Angel stuff of that nature. Still the Fling package, but you have Emberheart Challenger, Claim Fame as a way to reanimate stuff and give haste, but a lot of the same elements that we just covered in the other deck. Big thing, you get much better mana tools compared to like the standard version. Just another Bugbear, Ramanop Ruin, Sokuzen, just a lot of things to do with your mana in case you go to Selesnya Angels now, 65%. So keep in mind, I always say this, with these special guest cards, it's going to default in the image to the most recent, which happens to be the special guest. You do not need a mythic to craft Collected Company. You can play a rare, and it is perfectly fine. This is on the 6 Elf version to try to ramp into your 3 drops earlier. Inspiring Overseer for card advantage, Resplendent Angel, gain 5 or more life. You get to start popping off more angels, mana sink on its own. Righteous Valkyrie as one of your life gain engines. Same with Bishop of Wings. Giada makes your other angels come into play bigger. Collected Company, Kyla's Reconstruction both help you cheat into play stuff. And then you have Skyclave Apparition as a way to get some additional value. The one thing I would check, I don't recall off the top of my head, the Verges. If they tap for white first or green first. If white first, then I would probably play them over the Pathways. I would probably, in any case, try out a split, because the Verges seem, you have 9 copies. The Verges always give you both colors, and you do have, like, putting it on green basically hurts you for, like, the Bishop of Wings, it hurts you for Kyla's Reconstruction, even Resplendent Angel, or Skyclave. You're a little bit limited in how much green mana you want, beyond just, like, your Elves and Collected Company. We then go to Grixis Creativity. So we saw this in Best of 3 video we covered last week that the creativity target that they're looking at is Valgavoth Terror Eater. So the big Elder Demons, 9 mana, 9/9 flying lifelink, great ward ability, can kind of steal cards. For this deck, you can make artifacts or token creatures, target them with creativity, and then cheat into play Valgavoth. Otherwise, it's just an Is It control deck. Otherwise, the Grixis comes from your target. Shark Typhoons, removal with like Prismari Command, Volcanic Spite, Torch the Tower kind of effects, Impulse, just some cheap counters mixed in with card advantage. You could hard cast Shark Typhoon. Wow, that was a saying to come out in the morning. So some value there. You also have things like Fountain Port in here as another utility effect. So it seems like they're playing the Temple of Epiphany as a way to fix your deck. You're probably better off just playing the Surveil. Yes, if you have these, you can play it, but the Surveil land's probably just better because it doesn't matter. I guess it doesn't matter in this deck putting it to your graveyard or into your hand. You don't have any, like in the Gear Hulk version of the creativity deck, you'd want it in your value. You then go to Mono Black Caretaker. So this one's at 60%. So this has got a couple different combos. You have the Slasher plus Bloodletter of Aclazots. As the one-shot kill, you have Unholy Annex with Bloodletter that gets you extra drain. Otherwise, it's just mono black, mid-rangey control. Hand Hate, a lot of different effects. Fatal Push for removal, Go for the Throat, Edict in here, really good against Auras, Greasefang style stuff, Sweeper, Graveyard Trespasser for Graveyard Hate, Bankbuster for card advantage. Shelly in here can also kind of play nicely with the Annex, just offsetting the life loss if you don't have a demon. And then Virtue in here as well. Bunch of different utility lands. So this is kind of the evolution of the mono black waste knock decks that we previously saw. We go to then Jund's Sacrifice, 57%. So this is a Rakdos Sacrifice with Yurga here. Yurga enables an infinite combo. The combo being if you have Yurga in play, a food token, and then like a cat in play or cat in the graveyard. Even if you don't have the food token, just a cat in play, cat in the graveyard. The cats become food, so you can just sack them to each other and then loop and then drain your opponent out. Otherwise, it's traditional sacrifice deck. You have your Cat Oven shenanigans with pinging with the Mayhem Devil, a bunch of card advantage with like Deadly Disputes, Scavenger's Talent as a way to generate self-mill, food tokens, and then potentially can reanimate the Yurga itself. This one's got the sideboard Jinkanta companion. And lastly, we have Enigmatic Incarnation, a Flicker version. This one's at 56%. So the core of this deck is leveraging Enigmatic Incarnation. You would sacrifice an enchantment to go get an enchantment that costs equal to +1, the converted mana cost. So you can curve like Overlord of the Hauntwoods into Enigmatic, sack the Overlord, get like Overlord of the Balemark as some value. You can then take these 6 drops and then get Agent, Atraxa, Titan. This version here also has access to Flicker of Fate, so you can flicker your enchantments, so you can play your overlords as the impending cost and then flicker them. You can steal stuff with like various agents. You have things like Nowhere to Run, High Noon, Beanstalk that also can be sacrificed to find you like cheaper effects like this. Toolboxy kind of birthing pod style deck for those who used to play the idea of that in old Modern. My first Modern deck, played it once and then it was banned the next week. Devastating. In any case, that is it for the week. Let me know what you think, what you've been playing, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.